A couple of episodes ago, we built the beginnings of our gaming district hub, which included these teleporters to the gaming areas and the general palette and wall designs. Since then, I've been working a little on the rest of the area, trying to measure things and get a good idea of where the different builds will go. But there's two key things I want to build today: the podium and the Olympic torch. Now this episode will be a little bit different. It's mostly going to be a voiceover and replay mod footage. If you like this format or you're not a fan, please do let me know your thoughts. Now you can see here I started thinking about where the podium may go. The vision here is to have a steep staircase leading up to 4 podiums: gold, silver, bronze, and then a dirt podium for everybody else. All inside a carved mountain or giant stone structure. I figured I'd be better off starting with the staircase, though it was quite difficult figuring out the shape. I needed a bit more space, so set the podium a little further back, and I was not happy with this first attempt. I decided to start with the start and ending angles. I always find it easier to plan things when I have a bit of structure in place already. Then I added a line for the midpoint. The general size and shape felt about right. Then it was just a case of filling in the gaps. I was happy with this, so I began expanding the top part where the podiums would sit. I wasn't fully happy with the stairs though, so I decided to go back through with some slabs. Next up, it was time to build the actual podiums. I used copper for the bronze podium and tried out these new chiselled blocks for the top. Having these podiums be a little textured and interesting to look at is the goal here, since the shape is quite simple. Although I still need to work out how to ornament the silver and gold ones. You can see here I installed lights in the back, as well as a ladder so players can actually get up onto the podium. And here's the view from further away. It's decent, it's a bit basic, but I think it works. Now, I mentioned before that I want the podium to sit inside a hill or mountain or rock structure. One of my inspirations for this is those basalt columns you sometimes see in nature. Think like the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. You can see my strategy here is to just do one column at a time, building up from the ground level. Then dropping down to do the next one, trying to vary the height each time. My feet took a lot of damage, and many golden carrots were eaten, but I find this kind of methodical way of building to be the easiest way sometimes. The basalt columns you see in the real world tend to look very smooth, so that's why I opted to make stone and andesite pillars instead of actually using basalt. The result is a little plain, but I'm hoping the variety in pillar height makes it interesting enough. Really, this should be plain in order to make the podium itself really pop out. Now, since I wanted the whole structure to look carved out of stone, I changed up the front to have a similar stone and andesite design. I then brought the walls in to meet up with the main square. Now you can see the cyan markers here. This will be one of the buildings on the square, and so I wanted the wall to come up right against that. I really wanted this to feel like a 3D stone structure, so I needed it to be a fair few blocks thick all around. The different layers also gave me a few spots to hide some lighting. I may cover these in grey carpet at a later point as well. And here you can see why we will need walls all around the outside. This guy genuinely nearly killed me. I had to escape. But I got my revenge. I continued expanding the wall at the back to give it some more texture. Now, I do want to add more to this at a later date, more detail and fill out the sides, but I am pleased with this for now. The other build I want to complete today is the Olympic flame. This will be something that we light at the beginning of our events. You can see here I've mapped out a circle. My plan is to have a spiral build go up into the air with the flame cauldron built on top of that. So the circle on the ground there is to help me follow the circle as I build upwards. Oh, and this is also where I got zapped by lightning. Poseidon is really not happy with me today. So here you can see me trying to build up one of these spiral platforms, following the shape of the circle below. As some of you may have guessed, I'm using pink, yellow, red and blue for this build, sometimes called the Zits colours, after Zedcraft, Impulse, Tango and Skiz. We used to design multiplayer games with red, yellow, green and blue, but changed the green to pink when we held an event for the Zits. And it turned out that these colours just look nicer together, and are easier to see for those with red-green colour blindness. So now we design a lot of our 4-player minigames with these colours. I don't mind what I've created here, but it does look very blocky. I tried to connect things up at the top to see where the cauldron would sit, and I also tried to slim it down and edit it a little bit, but I struggled to get something that I really liked. So the next best idea was to start again. This time I opted for a much smaller circle. This way the spiral pillars would be 1 block thick. The plan is again to have the 4-colour spiral up, and then maybe it can fan out at the top slightly so that it can hold the cauldron. I quite liked this shape, and again having that circle below was really helpful. I wasn't completely sold on the top, so I tried to make it fan out a little bit further from the circle. I was a lot happier about this than the previous attempt, so I started building the cauldron. This will be a simple copper bowl. I just used the bottom few layers of a sphere design to create this shape. From down here I realised it probably needed another layer. I spent a bit of time trying to decide how to connect the spiral columns up to the bowl, though I felt that everything I added made it worse, so settled for something simple. The final touch for the structure itself was to add some glass panes to smooth out the curves, and then add 4 dangling end rods for some lighting. I may do more with this, but at this point I was happy. The last thing left to do for this Olympic flame area is to make this floating platform here make a bit more sense within the overall structure. So here you can see me experimenting where a wall may go, again using tuff to match what we have elsewhere. I decided it would be best to have a gap here between the stair wall and the wall up here, and this, along with the curve here, gives the platform a bit more of an interesting shape. We still have the issue of this hole down here, so to start with, I continued the tuff walls further back. I then built the back wall using the same blocks as the floor. This will be where the rules are located, so it's an important place. The only issue left to resolve at this point are the gaps down the sides. So first I built up a bit of a wall, and then I created floors and walls back behind it as well. This is one of those places I'm hoping people just don't look. If you see stone out of the corner of your eye in this place, you're not going to think anything of it. Whereas if you saw the island below or some water, it would really stand out. And that is all the building we will do this episode. But I do want to walk through the portal and show you what it is like as a player on the ground. So the first thing you will see is a nice announcement board here with the rules behind that I still need to write up there, and you can see the Olympic flame structure here as well. And if we come up one of the sides here, you'll notice that this back here is the wall that I said I don't really want people to pay attention to. That is so much better than seeing the underside of this or being able to see the world below. So I'm happy with this. We come up here and we can see the podium. I definitely still want to do some kind of texturing here, but I think this works like a treat. You can imagine the players standing at the front of here after an event, maybe with some fireworks coming out through the stone or something like that. We can also do something here. I might just have some benches or something like that, some kind of decoration, but we can also use this wall maybe as a place to show previous winners of events or something like that. Or even we could hollow this out and have some kind of building underneath if we needed the space. But I'm very pleased with how this looks. I'm very pleased with how this looks. I think the last thing to do here would be have some kind of redstone trigger that we can do down here, which sends a signal up there, which then lights a flame on top. We could do the flame with lava, perhaps. Maybe fire charges that shoot into the sky, or more fireworks, something like that. We could even send a firework up here to hit the bottom, which then triggers the flame on top. But I'm very pleased with all of this. I think it's turned out really well. Next episode, I think we'll work on some of these buildings around here. But for now, let's go have a look at some Colourlympics results. And today's are very exciting. A few episodes ago, we built this dripstone farm. Now this was a sheep-powered dripstone farm. There were 8 sheep in the centre here, and whenever one sheep pushed that pressure plate, there was a small chance that 1/2 of these dripstone spikes would be triggered and would fall down. One by one, the sheep were eliminated until the final 2 sheep, the blue sheep and the orange sheep. Now currently we are out of render distance, so we don't see the sheep, but as I fly towards, you will be able to see the winner of this event. Finally, one of the last 2 sheep were knocked out, and there we go. Congratulations to the orange team for winning this event. If we look over here, we can see the results. Blue team valiantly came second. You can see how many dripstone were harvested whilst it was just 2 sheep left over. Yellow managed to get 3rd place a long time ago, and the rest of the sheep unfortunately did not perform as well. So congratulations to Orange for the amazing gold medal this episode. And now I have a bit of a dilemma. Do I want to get 7 more sheep in to run the event again, or would I prefer to just leave this guy as the owner of this farm? He can continue pressing that pressure plate, harvesting the dripstone for me. So do let me know what you think. I think it could be fun to run it again, but it took such a long time to get down to the last 2, and then even longer to finally get a winner. And how does that result change our scores? Well, yellow stays in the lead, blue is now no longer joint second and is second on their own, but most impressively, orange has jumped from 5th all the way up to joint 3rd place. Pink hangs on to top 3, and we still have a 3-way tie for last place. Next episode we will hopefully finish the buildings in that gaming district area, but we will also have a few different farms to check up on. It's been a while since we've checked up on the sugarcane farm, and then we've got the wool farm and the cactus farm as usual. I do want to make some more farms here. I just need to think about what resources I need for future projects. And of course, how we can make the farms competitive. But before we finish the episode today, let's head on over to the connections game. And so here we have last week's puzzle. As always, we are trying to find 4 groups of 4. To begin with, we have 4 mobs here. Now, these are the only mobs on the board, so you can kind of guarantee that this is one group, and specifically, these are mobs that do not drop experience. And experience is a key theme in this puzzle. Next up, we have Bottle of Enchanting, Snowball, Egg, and Wind Charge. And these are things that can be thrown by a player. Now, I included Fire Charge in here to kind of distract from this category, but you can't actually throw a Fire Charge as a player. You can use it on the ground, you can use it on a portal frame, but you cannot throw it like a dispenser can. Speaking of which, that is our next category. So Fire Charge, Armor Stand, TNT and Shears are all things that can be used by a dispenser. And to finish off, we have quite a simple category at the end of things. These are sources of experience. And here is the puzzle for this episode. As always, you can find it in the description. Please give it a go and let me know how you do. The clues this time are Cat's Gift, Ward, relic, cat, Fletcher's chest, blocks, zombie, chirp, armadillo, wolf, whoops, groans, parrot, nays, rattles, and shipwreck. So that's it for today's episode. It was a bit of a different one. You know, the editing was not quite how I usually do it. So I always appreciate feedback. So if you do have any opinions, any thoughts, do let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.